Hi, and welcome to the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs for the City of Seattle's Training for Attorney Volunteers. This is the training on forms and flow. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what a citizenship workshop is, volunteer roles and expectations, and then go over the particular roles for screening, complex cases, and attorney review. We'll also talk about the forms that are necessary in each of those roles. There are 23,000 green card holders in Seattle, 70,000 in King County, and 180,000 green card holders in Washington. But less than 10% have applied for citizenship. Why is that? We'll talk a little bit about some of the barriers that potential citizens face in beginning the citizenship application process. There are many barriers to becoming a citizen, including cost, difficulties with the English or civics exam, fear and confusion, or lack of access to help. Citizenship workshops help us overcome some of those barriers. A citizenship workshop is a day-long free legal clinic to help eligible legal permanent residents become citizens. They're staffed by volunteers like yourself. Clients will move through stations to fill out and review their paperwork, get resources, and even take application photos or get special resources such as citizenship loan. Citizenship workshop models work great for helping many people with light touch, uncomplicated cases move through the process. However, they're not appropriate for everyone. They are designed for people who can navigate the process after filling out their application by themselves. No G28s are filed, and no one will go with clients to their interview or follow them throughout the rest of the process. Clients are prepared to mail their application on their own and go through the rest of the process by themselves. Anyone with a complicated case or who will need more support will be referred to a legal service partner or an attorney for one-on-one help. We have wonderful partners who offer free one-on-one help for anyone applying for citizenship in their offices. Anyone who may need more support will be referred to one of these partners. Anyone who we think may need help with their application or navigating the rest of the process will be matched up with one of our partners or given an attorney referral. This includes people who need medical or disability waivers, like people with dementia or people who've suffered a stroke, people who need to learn more English before passing the interview, or people with complicated cases because of past arrests, convictions, extended travel, or other serious red flags. There are two types of people who help make those determinations. Experienced immigration attorneys will send people either to referral specialists who can help people find records or give them the correct referral for a disability waiver or one-on-one attorney help. And complex case attorneys who review cases that are borderline to see if they will be able to go forward on their own or if they need to be referred out for more specialized information. Now I'm going to talk about volunteer roles and expectations. Volunteers are the lifeblood of citizenship workshops. We absolutely could not function without you. We need you to come prepared. That means reviewing your role before you come. Be patient. It can be hectic, confusing, and crowded. We need you to be on time and prepared to stay the full time. If you have any questions, please ask your station lead. They're familiar with all the procedures, forms, and flow at your station. Finally, be kind, courteous, and flexible with all clients. It's very important to arrive on time. We have a lot to go over in the morning, and you'll need coffee and breakfast to get through the day. We ask everyone to arrive at 8 a.m. to check in, get their coffee and breakfast, and then receive their morning training. From 8:30 to 10, station-specific training will happen for all volunteers, including attorney volunteers. Officially, we open the doors at 10 a.m. There's always a line much earlier. We try to get people settled and started earlier if possible, so it's very important to arrive on time. We'll keep accepting new clients until about 1 p.m. or until we reach capacity for the day, whichever happens first. Although we'll close the doors at 1 p.m., don't expect to leave before 5 p.m. as people work their way throughout the process. And we also need to clean up. Anyone who arrives after the doors are closed will be given information for the next clinic or for our referral partners. Wait times are long. The process usually takes 3 to 4 hours for each person, so clients can get hungry, frustrated, tired, and bored. Please be patient with clients and expect rushes, sometimes lulls. Flexibility is key. Clients move through 6 basic stations. They start with intake and greeting, where clients are checked in, where we give them their basic paperwork and have them wait for the next step. Next is screening. This is where immigration attorneys and non-immigration attorneys screen for red flags and English language skills. If there are any questions, experienced immigration attorneys review the red flags and decide if the person should be referred out or can move forward. Sometimes people will need to go to complex cases, especially when they have a criminal conviction and have brought their records with them. If the screening room and complex cases attorneys believe that they can go forward, they'll move on to the form station. This is where paralegals, law students, non-immigration attorneys, or other trained volunteers help clients fill out their N-400 application or citizenship application, and if they qualify, an I-912 or fee waiver form. After the forms are filled out, clients move to attorney review, where experienced immigration attorneys review the client's paperwork, case, and make sure it's ready to go. Attorneys either clear the client to apply on their own, refer them to a partner for one-on-one help, or sometimes recommend that they don't apply at all. Attorneys can also correct errors on the forms at this point. If the attorneys clear the client to go forward, they will go on to copying and packaging to have their application prepared for mailing. Clients who don't qualify for a fee waiver but need to help paying for their fees will have the option to go to a station after copying and packaging to find out if they qualify for a small citizenship loan. The exit station is one of the most important stations. It's where we collect the intake form, the tracking form, so we know what happened to each client and make sure that they have the information on their next steps and the referral information for one-on-one help, citizenship classes, ESL classes, or other community resources as needed. We'll spend a lot of time talking about the tracking form, but it's a very critical document. We must fill out the tracking form for each client. This is our only record of what happened. We don't keep copies of the N-400 for our clients. This is going to be a colorful piece of paper, usually it's yellow. You'll need to fill it out completely and make notes and mark off the steps that you've taken for each client that passes through your station. Be sure that no one leaves with their yellow tracking form. If you see someone with it and they're leaving, please ask them to turn it into the exit station or just take it with you. Station leads will check the tracking form as each client leaves, but if we all work together, we can actually make sure that all of the tracking forms are filled out. It's an easy step to forget, but it's really the only record we have of clients, so it's critically important to remember. I want to talk a little bit about resources. There will be a box of extra forms, addendums, and other resources in every room. Each table will have a binder with key resources you may need, including lists of the ways that people have gotten their their residency, derivative citizenship charts, key legal resources, and other things like that. There will also be a few computers for looking up information on Washington courts, selective service, and other key pieces of information. If you have questions, see something missing, or you need supplies, ask your station lead and they can get it for you. Station leads are the head of their station. If you have any questions about what to do, where to go, or what you should or should not fill out, they are your first line of defense. The station lead will train all the volunteers at their station in the morning. They also check the tracking sheet before each person leaves the station to ensure it's been filled out. Now I'm going to talk about the screening station. Screening stations go over the red flag checklist with clients. This is to make sure that the people who go forward and have their N400 filled out really are qualified to go through a workshop setting. They have uncomplicated cases and will be able to go through the rest of the process by themselves without legal representation. If there are red flags, screeners and the team leads will determine the next steps, one of 3 next steps. If there's no serious red flags, the client moves on to station number 3, or form station, to complete their N400. If they're missing documents, for example, they have a criminal conviction but they don't have their court documents or arrest record with them, or if it's clear that they should not apply at this time by themselves, then they should be referred to Station 5 to the referral experts. Referral experts will match them to an appropriate partner organization. For example, they'll give them a attorney referral list. They'll match them with a partner who can do a disability waiver. They'll match them with a partner who can work with them to track down the information that they need and put together the paperwork. Or they'll simply work with them to help them understand what they need to do to get their certified records for the next workshop. And finally, those folks who have a criminal conviction with serious documents or other serious red flags that need a review will be sent to the complex cases room. The complex cases room is staffed by very experienced immigration attorneys who also work on immigration cases with criminal complications. They will review the documents and determine if the client is okay to move forward or needs more constant intervention. The red flag checklist is the basic document in the screening station. We use this checklist to determine if there are any red flags that may complicate an application that need to be explored further. If a client answers yes to any question on the red flags checklist, you should consult with your team lead and decide whether or not they need to be referred out immediately, go to complicated cases, or if they're okay to proceed. You'll have complete guidance on who should and should not be referred out the day of, as will your team leads, who will ultimately approve each placement for a client to the next station. However, I want to give you a little bit of a sense of the guidance that we have. If someone has not registered for the selective service, they can go forward to form as long as you make a note that they'll need to fill out a selective service addendum. They have unpaid taxes. They're not currently eligible and will need to see a referral specialist to learn about their next steps. They have tax debt, but they have a current payment plan with the IRS. Please note this for the review attorney, the forms volunteer, and continue. If they have a trip that If it's 6 months or longer, you'll need to assess if the client broke residency. You and your team lead will decide whether they need to go forward or be referred out. If they have a criminal record with no documents, they'll need to go to a referral specialist who can explain how to get those records and refer them to our next clinic or to one of our community partners. If they have a criminal record and they have brought documents with them, you'll need to refer them to the complex cases room. If they may qualify for an N648 or medical waiver, you'll need to send them to the referral specialist to explain the process and refer out. Especially for medical and disability waivers, we don't want these clients navigating the process by themselves without the representation of someone from the community. If they're not literate in English, refer them to an ESL class and refer them to the referral specialist to help them find an ESL class that can improve their literacy. If they insist that they want to go forward, that is their choice. However, we'd like you to encourage them to seek ESL help before applying for citizenship. Now, a little bit about the specific role of a screening attorney. First, you'll introduce yourself, then you'll explain and sign the limited legal liability document with the client. Both you and the client need to sign. Then you'll go through the red flag checklist. It's important to explain at the beginning that they must be honest in answering all of the questions. This is the first station of the day, and they've just met you. Sometimes it can be difficult to establish trust quickly. However, we need honest answers to these red flags in order to know if the client is safe to go forward on their own. If the client answers yes to any question, get more details. If there's a yes on any of the red flags, please consult with the immigration attorney team lead to see if they should go forward or be referred out. Any criminal or serious red flags will go to the complex cases room for further review. Also, we ask our screening attorneys to assess the client English. If the client does not qualify for an English waiver and you feel they cannot pass the interview, advise the client to wait and take more ESL classes. Explain the English requirements and that they may not pass the test at this point. Also remind them they will only have between 3 and 6 months to study once they file their application. However, we allow clients to decide whether or not to go forward. Ultimately, it's their decision if they'd like to try to pass the test, even with limited English skills. This is the section of the tracking form screening attorneys should fill out. First, you'll check off that you signed the limited legal service agreement with the client. Next, you'll check off what rule they're applying under, the 3-year rule, 5-year rule, or if it's too early for them to apply. Then you'll assess English and literacy. First, assess whether they possibly qualify for a waiver. If they do qualify for a waiver, go forward. If they do not qualify for a waiver, assess their literacy and see if they have sufficient English in your judgment to pass the exam or not. If they do not, advise them that they may want to take ESL classes before continuing on the path to citizenship. Advise them that the risk is that they will lose their $680 and need to file again. Well, as you're doing each of these steps, mark them off on the tracking sheet. Also mark off that you've reviewed any red flags, gone through the entire red flag checklist, and make any notes that are necessary for the next for the next section. The team lead role for screening station is for experienced immigration attorneys. You'll work with your team of non-immigration attorneys or newer immigration attorneys to assess any red flags discovered. You'll need to assess complicated cases screening, who goes to the complicated cases screenings, and who can go forward on their own or should be referred out. We complete a red flag screening. First, so that clients don't spend hours filling out an N400, tie up the form's volunteers if they're ineligible or not ready to apply. It's your job to work with the non-immigration attorneys or newer immigration attorneys in your team to ensure that we catch as many red flags as possible. If the client has any crime, they need to go to complex cases. If they've brought records, send them to the criminal attorney. If they did not, they need to go to the referral experts. Please don't forget to fill out the track sheet. Team leads fill out checkboxes saying that a person is eligible to apply today and should go to station 3, or they need to go be reviewed by complex cases, or that they're not clear to move forward and need to be referred out. If you are suggesting that they be referred out, please leave a note about why and what kind of resources would be most useful for the referral experts to go over with them. Finally, put your name and sign. Complex case instructions. Immigration attorneys with criminal experience will staff the complex cases room. You will deal with the cases where people have serious red flags, or if they have a criminal record and have brought their documents, and we need to assess whether it's a good idea for them to go forward. You'll need to determine if they are A, okay to go forward today and file on their own, B, okay to file, but in need of more one-on-one representation, or C, should not file at all at this time. Introduce yourself, review the client's paperwork, including the red flag checklist and the documents that they brought with them. Determine whether the client can go forward or should stop. Finally, write your instructions on the tracking sheet. Don't forget to fill out the tracking sheet for every client. On the tracking sheet, you'll write your name and sign. You'll check that you reviewed the red flag checklist and attorney notes. You'll make a determination if they're eligible to go to station 3, not clear to move forward and need to go to station 5. And if it's the latter, you'll also want to know, did you refer them to ESL classes, partner organization, or a private attorney? And note any steps, next steps, or other notes that will be helpful for the referral expert or for the partner agency in understanding why they weren't able to go forward at the workshop. Finally, add the station referral to the gray box in the upper right-hand corner. The last station we'll talk about is the review station. Attorney review is staffed by immigration attorneys. Attorneys review the completed N400s and I-912, if applicable, checking to see if there are issues that could have been missed. The attorney reviewers check green cards and supporting documentation, completed N400 and I-912 forms. They also check to see if the client is ineligible or at risk of removal, tell them not to file at all. If the client needs more support than we can give at a workshop, recommend that they get a referral. Or if they're ready to file today or almost ready but missing a few pieces of information. Send them to packaging station with notes. Review attorneys will check for red flags and post-its, review the entire application and waiver, then sign and give the client next steps. We'll determine if the client is ready to go for a referral or for exit and packaging. Please leave any notes for packaging and exit that would be helpful, such as documents that the client is missing or other pieces of information. Then sign your name as the reviewer and print it legibly. Most attorneys will begin the day in screening. Some will move on to review as the first rush of clients slows down. Others will stay in screening for most of the day. We will have a computer to look up information and a resource table. Please bring any materials you'd like to have as a reference with you. Also, please keep an eye on your email. We'll be sending important updates as the date approaches. The volunteer roles are pre-assigned. It's imperative that you give us notice if you cannot attend, so we can adjust the volunteer numbers as needed. Finally, thank you for giving your time and your expertise. This means that hundreds of people can take the next step to becoming a citizen, being able to vote, reunite with their families, and pursue their dreams. Without you, citizenship workshops would be truly impossible. So thank you so much for your time.